Hello and welcome back to F1 Every Week. My name is Ben Wevel, and today I'm going to give you the lowdown about the recently announced Las Vegas Grand Prix. Today is episode 50 of this podcast, which is a huge milestone for me to have reached personally, but this would not have been possible without everyone listening, so thank you all so much. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many other streaming platforms, all of which are linked below. Now, without further ado, let's get into episode 50. The big news from the F1 world this week was the announcement of a night race set to be held next year in Las Vegas. This race will mark the third American race on the calendar for 2023, alongside the infamous COTA and the Miami Grand Prix, which is set to make its debut on the calendar this year in May. This will be yet another blistering street race alongside Saudi Arabia, with top speeds expected to exceed 212 miles per hour. It will also be only the 75th Saturday race in F1 history, compared to 984 races on a Sunday. F1 returns to the city of Las Vegas after a hiatus of over 40 years, the sport having last raced at Nevada at the Caesars Palace car park in 1981 and 82. It was the season finale in both of its appearances on the calendar, and saw Nelson Piquet and Keke Rosberg win championships in the searing heat of Las Vegas. That atmosphere proved difficult for F1 cars to deal with many breaking down before the checkered flag. The sport returns to the state, however, in very different circumstances. The 14-corner 3.8-kilometre track taking place on the Vegas streets, the main straight being the famous Las Vegas Strip itself. The race is a blatant example of the Drive to Survive effect, which properly introduced F1 to the US for the first time. F1 has seen a huge growth in the States in the last 18 months, the pre-pandemic 2019 US Grand Prix having an attendance of 268,000 over the 3 days, and the more recent Grand Prix seeing an attendance of 400,000, a nearly 50% increase. This was corroborated by F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali, who said that this recent announcement demonstrates the huge appeal and growth of our sport, with a third race in the US. Las Vegas is a destination known around the world for its excitement, hospitality, thrills, and of course the famous Strip. The 50-lap race will take place in November of next year, so it is likely to be one of the final rounds of the season, evoking memories of the intense action in the season finales of 40 years ago. In other news, Sebastian Vettel will finally be returning to the grid for the Australian Grand Prix next week, having missed the first 2 rounds of this year's World Championship due to COVID-19. Nico Hülkenberg has stepped in for Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, his team Aston Martin having scored 0 points so far this season. The German 4-time world champ opened up about the car's drivability after the 2 pre-season tests in Spain and Bahrain, citing that there is still a lot of work to do. Aston Martin has a huge mountain to climb if they want to be anywhere near competitive this season, and are in a similar situation to Williams. It is clear that the Mercedes-powered cars are struggling, with the 3 customer teams of Mercedes making up the 3 bottom teams in the standings. Let's hope that Australia will see a reversal of fortunes for all 3 teams. Finally, on the subject of struggles of Mercedes, Toto Wolff spoke out this week after a very rough start to the season. The reigning Constructors' Champions have been looking out of sorts so far this season, having to rely on luck in Bahrain to pick up an unexpected podium finish, courtesy of Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes team principal proclaimed that the position in which Mercedes are in at the moment is no fun at all, and that the team would not rest until they were back in the mix at the front. Like the other teams powered by Mercedes, they have a massive job to do to make the car podium ready next race. Thank you for listening to F1 Every Week. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and feel free to return on Sunday for the third race roundup of the season.